Hi there, these comments are for N. I'm just using your name for privacy purposes. I'm looking at your syllabus right now, and I want to talk about the grading breakdown. Now, this is what we see here, right? So homework 20, quiz 15, chapter test final 50%, participation 10, irregular verbs 5, right? So what we're trying to do in the ELP for the WASP accreditation is to create some uniformity and consistency across levels with particular classes. So what we have to do is we have to look at what this is here, and we have to see how we can make what you've done kind of fit this. So we have here, so we're trying to get this area here. Now here's part of my recommendation here to create a little bit more uniformity here. So what you want to do is take what you have, and I would reduce your homework, for example, down to 10%. The final exam, I would put that down to 10%, not 50%. And the question is, let's talk about quizzes first. So here's my recommendation. You have present tense and past future tense. To me, it would be logical to have a quiz here. And then you have connecting ideas, present perfect, progressive, and past perfect. I would probably schedule for another quiz here. Then you have passive and modals. Makes sense here. You can probably do a third quiz. You see what we're saying? And then you have connecting ideas and count, non-count nouns and articles. You can probably put this stuff all on the final. Now the next thing is, in terms of tests, a test is typically will cover, say, 2 or 3 different chapters. This is how I see tests. Okay, so we have, let's say, weeks 3, let's say we take a look at present tense, past tense, future tense, then we have quiz 1. Then you have connecting ideas, present perfect, progressive, and past perfect. You have quiz 2. Then you have passives and modals, you have quiz 3. You have connecting ideas and count and non-count nouns and articles. You got to figure out what to do with that. And then maybe here we can put a unit test. This could be unit test number 1. You get to present perfect, progressive, and then past perfect, and then after you cover the passive, then you can have unit test 2. Then you have modals, modal auxiliaries, and then connecting ideas and count, non-count nouns and articles. Maybe here you can have a unit test 3. You see what we're saying here? So now, what do we have? If we take a look at quizzes here, we have 4 irregular verb quizzes. That's a given, right? You'll have at least 4 on those. I recommend doing let's say list 1 and 2, you'll have a quiz. List 3 and 4, you have a quiz. List 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8. So you have 4 quizzes there plus 5, 6. So you got 4 plus 5, 6, and 7. So quizzes, I'd recommend probably close to 7. I would say 7. And then unit test, we have 3. So the first unit test covers topics present tense, past, and future tense, and then connecting ideas. Then you have the next unit test will cover present perfect progressive, and past perfect, and then passive. That's your next unit test. Then you can have a third unit test, which maybe covers modals, connecting ideas, and count and non-count nouns and articles. That would be your third one. So for your tests, you have 3. You see what I'm saying? So it might look something like that. Then the final exam, it covers pretty much all the material that you've covered from week 1 all the way to week 9. That's a cumulative final exam. Now, I don't know exactly how you design your test. When I was teaching grammar, I like to do 2 parts. First part of the test can be multiple choice type questions, true, false, whatever. And then the second half of the test is actually writing. They're combining sentences and things like that, or filling in the blank, certain kinds of exercises like that, where it's not just A, B, C, D. So part of your test you can automatically score using the testing center on campus. You know, as long as you have them use Scantrons, they'll score it for you. And then the other part you can do on your own. So basically half of the test you have to grade yourself, and half of it is computer score. So that'll save you some time. I don't know if you're doing that already. So you see what I'm saying here? So this is really my recommendation here. Now, when you have a grammar class, there's just so much going on and there's so many things happening. I would, if I were you, I mean, I don't know if everybody's different here, but I would actually list every day that you have class. You know, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? And you're doing things from there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me go to my TOEFL. We got 6. Let me show you something here. So we have TOEFL, level 6. Let me see, hold on. I'm trying to just find this quickly. Here we go. Let me show what I'm talking about. Your class is kind of busy like my class. I mean, I got a lot of stuff. Think about TOEFL class for a minute here. Let's talk about level 6. So I have to do 4 irregular verb quizzes in my class. I have to do 6 vocabulary quizzes with the academic word list, including a final for that. My students complete 4 integrated speaking practice tests. They do 2 integrated writing practice tests. All of these things are scheduled over a 10-week period. So it's hard to keep track of things, especially in a class like yours, because you're doing so much. I mean, it's hard to know what's happening. You see what I'm saying? So what I like to do is to figure out, first of all, before I do anything, I'll list all the days. June 24th, 25th. You know, I try to list exactly what all the different days are, and then I plan on what I like to do on each day. And I also make sure I didn't schedule exactly the irregular verb quizzes yet and the AWL vocabulary. I just do those pretty much when I can fit them in, but it would be better if I actually scheduled, and probably next quarter I'll start doing that, because now I'm pretty familiar with how it works. Irregular verbs is kind of a new thing, right? So it's a good idea to schedule these things in so you and your students can see what's going to happen and when it's going to happen, right? Or if you don't do that, it's very easy for students to postpone things and let's say, hey, let's do our unit test next week instead of this week. But if you keep doing that kind of stuff and you postpone and don't do things according to a schedule, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to finish everything. You see what I'm saying? So I think that you should probably, in this course outline, you should also include when you want to include these quizzes and these tests. So at least at the very least, for the irregular verbs, maybe you don't worry about that, but for sure students know, near the end of week 2, they're going to have a quiz on the present tense, the past, and the future tense. They know that that's going to happen. And then they know after the 3rd week, after they finish connecting ideas, they'll have a unit test that covers everything they've covered up to that point, which means present tense, past and future tense, and then connecting ideas. Then after the unit test is over, then they know they will cover present perfect progressive, and past perfect, and then they'll have a second quiz. Then once they get to week 6, after they cover the passive, then they'll have a unit test. Then after the unit test is over, unit test 2, then you will cover modals. After you cover modals in week 7 and 8, you'll have quiz 3. And then after, in week 9, once you've covered connecting ideas, count, non-count nouns and articles, then you have unit test 3. And then students will have a final exam at that point. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'd like you to be a little more specific in how you are framing the ideas in here. And one thing that I would also do is before you get to the actual grading breakdown, you actually have maybe a section here, because if you're going to include participation, quizzes, tests, homework, and final exam, then you'll have a category called assignments. Right? And underneath that, you'll include an explanation of all of these things that you are including here that leads up to it. So under assignments, you'll have participation. You'll have maybe 3 or 4 sentences explaining about that. And then after you do that, then you'll talk about quizzes. You'll say in this class, you'll have 7 quizzes. The quizzes will cover the topics covered during the quarter. You might even say specifically, quiz 1 will cover topics, will cover present tense, past, and future tense. Quiz 2, you'll say will cover present perfect, progressive, and past perfect. And then you talk about quiz 3 and what it covers. And then you have a statement about tests. You say in this class we'll have 3 unit tests. The first unit test will cover the topics present tense, past, future, and connecting ideas. The second unit test will cover present perfect, progressive, past perfect, and passive, and so on. And then you have a brief explanation about homework, and then you have an explanation about the final exam and the fact that it is cumulative. You see what I'm saying there? So that would be some recommendations I would recommend on your syllabus as you work on it for the next term, for fall quarter. And I know you don't know exactly which class you're going to work on, but this is just my 2 cents. I think it would be helpful for both you and also for your students if you had a clearer plan or a breakdown of exactly what days you wanted to do these quizzes and these unit tests. So my suggestion is, if you take the 4 irregular verbs and you combine those with the 3 quizzes that I put into your outline, now you got 7. So then 30% of the student's grade is based on 7 quizzes. Then you have 40% of the grade is based on the student's completion of 3 unit tests. And see, that's where most of the points lie, because that covers most everything. And then, of course, you have the final exam, which is worth 10. We want to try to keep this consistent. All right, so these are my this is my 2 cents based on what I'm looking at right now. Now, if you have any other questions about what I'm talking about, come by sometime. You can come by in the morning before your 9 o'clock class. I'll be more than happy to talk a little bit more about this. All right?